Verbal Pals, my special VPs. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Dr. Emasi. I post videos on the art of verbal interaction with difficult people, how to show zero emotional reaction, and how to be cool, calm, and calculated in your verbal communication with them. This channel will teach you how to be mentally quick on your feet. Okay, today we're going to talk about professional comebacks that you can use in a work setting whenever you're dealing with toxic boss or difficult co-workers or supervisors, managers, and still be professional enough not to lose your job. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I have about 20, maybe 18 tips that I'm just going to drop for you. So let's start. Number one, if you're having a conversation with, let's say, a co-worker or your supervisor, and you're making these general inferences or just using a general language like everybody says or everything you're doing, like hyperboles, where they're pretty much exaggerating things or saying, let's say you did something wrong once. Some people have a tendency of saying you always, right? They just hyperbolize everything. They're never specific. So this is a professional comeback line that you can use to try to, at least without being so direct and without coming off rude, you can say something like, please, if you want to add sir or ma'am, you can add ma'am. Please, ma'am, can you please be specific, or can you please be more specific so that I can understand exactly what the issue is? Another thing you can also say is, can you please give me an example of what you're actually complaining about or what you have an issue with, because I am still unsure. And you can also say something like, please, I need more clarity. Another thing that you can say this same scenario is, I am not sure I understand exactly where you are coming from. So these are some professional languages that you can use at a work setting without being rude, offensive to where you end up losing your job. There is another tip that I want to give you. Tip number 5, you can say something like, I am sorry, but what you said is inaccurate. So if you're dealing with a boss or difficult colleague or supervisor, manager, and they're saying things that are not accurate, even if they're intentionally falsifying statements or intentionally being dishonest, rather than using certain words like lies or lying or liar or not true, like what you're saying is not true, or saying something like you are being dishonest or deceptive, those are, I would say, crossing the line in terms of being professional. It's better to use the word inaccurate. So you can say, I'm sorry, but what you said is inaccurate, rather than saying what you said is not true or what you said is a lie. So you have to be mindful of the words that you use in a professional setting. You have to choose your words wisely and replace certain words, certain languages with something that's less offensive, more acceptable in a professional setting. Tip number 6, you can say something like, I'm sorry, I have to decline your offer. I have other plans. So this is when colleagues are asking you favors or asking you things or asking you to do something or to maybe go to lunch with them and you don't want to do it. You can politely decline. You can just say, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry is a very great word. It's a great word. 2 great words, right, that you want to use in a workplace, even if you're not sorry. But you always, you can always start your statements with I'm sorry or please or sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. That's another common one. So just remember those words. I'm sorry, I have to decline your offer. I have other plans. Tip number 7, you can say something like, sorry, not today. So if someone is pressuring you or asking you for something to do that very day or to, go out or something, you can say sorry, not today, and just end it there. Tip number 8, don't expect me to cover for you again. I don't want to be an enabler. So this is good for a colleague who is always depending on you to do things for them or to pull their weight or to cover for them when they're being not very good, right? Not very productive. So rather than you being an enabler, you can just try to nip it in the bud and tell them, don't expect me to cover for you again. I do not want to be an enabler. Tip number 9, I have a lot on my plate. So when someone, a colleague or boss, is asking you to do things and you have so much work to do, you can politely just say, I have a lot on my plate. For a colleague, this is good. You can end it there. But for a boss, it's good to say, what do you want me to prioritize? So that way, the onus falls on the boss if anything goes wrong. If a deadline is missed, the onus falls on the boss because he or she is the one that pulled you off of whatever you were doing by reprioritizing your work. Okay. Tip number 10, you can say something like, sorry guys, I cannot be a part of that. So this is when you are addressing a group of your colleagues. If they're trying to do something and you don't want to be a part of it, you can just politely decline and tell them, sorry guys, I cannot be a part of that. Tip number 11, sorry, I can't go to lunch with you today. I have other plans. And I put this here because sometimes your colleagues will want to go out for lunch. And if you are economical and you bring your own lunch, you don't want to go. But some colleagues will literally take it personal and they can get angry and say you don't want to hang out with them, or you're isolating, or you're antisocial. They can read so many meanings into it. But that should not be the reason why you will go to lunch when you really don't want to go. You can just tell them, sorry, I can't go to lunch with you today. I have other plans. Like what I've done is I brought my own lunch, but so that really did not fly with the colleagues. So yes, just learn your colleagues, learn your personality, and just be mindful about what language and what works for each of them. Tip number 12, I would never defame you and I expect same from you. So this is when you're dealing with a situation where false allegations are being thrown out or are being made against you, defamation, and you just don't know what to say or what to do. You can tell the person that, using yourself as an example, you can tell them, I would never defame you and I expect same from you, or I expect nothing less from you. Tip number 13, sounds like you're holding me to a different standard than everyone else. Got you. So this is when you're talking to your boss, your supervisor, manager, a higher up, and they expecting you to do things that they're not expecting other people to do. So they're putting so much pressure, so much workload or expectation, a higher expectation on you. So I think the best thing to do is to draw this to their attention, so at least this person, the boss, knows that you can see what they're doing. You see them, you see through them. So if you make a comment like this, sounds like you're holding me to a different standard than everyone else. Got you. Although I might say drop the got you, depends on who you're talking to. But if you say got you, you're essentially telling them, I see you, right? I see you. If you don't say got you, I think you're good. That statement is good on its own without the got you at the end. They still will get the message that you're telling them that you are being unfairly treated. Tip number 14, correct me if I'm wrong. Seems like you keep moving the goalpost. So this also reflects a supervisor who's trying to put so much on your plate or trying to have so much expectation or a different standard for you than other people, and they keep moving the goalpost, maybe because they're trying to set you up failure, because they want you to do something and they tell you this is the goal, accomplish it, but then once they see that you're getting close to accomplishing that goal, they move it, they tell you a different thing and say, oh, but this is what I said you should do, A, B, C. Meanwhile, when you first started, they said A, right? And then you see that, wow, you're actually doing it. Now they're adding B, C, okay? So you can tell such a person that, correct me if I'm wrong, sounds like you keep moving the goalpost. So let them do the correction. Let the person fix that issue with the moving of the goalpost, and of course they're gonna deny it, but this is just for you to have it on record, for you to be in the future down the road, for you to be able to say, I said it before. because I noticed this. Okay, tip number 15. If I am set up to fail and I fail, whose fault is it? So this also has to do with a bad supervisor who keeps moving the goalpost, who has a different standard for you than others, who expects more from you than others, and who's just looking for things to complain about you, and they're pretty much setting you up to fail. So once you notice this, I think it's always good, it's always good to call this, to bring it to their attention. Call out the supervisor. Don't be too afraid of, oh, you're gonna lose your job or you're gonna make things worse. You're actually gonna make things worse if you don't say anything. So if you're able to nip things in the bud from the very beginning, that is the key. That is the key to shutting down anybody, any supervisor, any toxic person, difficult person. The key is to nip things in the bud from the get-go, from the very beginning. So the minute you notice that your supervisor is trying to set you up for failure, you need to call it. You need to call that to their attention. Okay? Tip number 16. I'm sorry for the errors. I can do better. So this is you making errors, and the supervisor is calling it's calling this to your attention. You should apologize, you should be remorseful, and you should promise that you're going to do better, because you can actually lose your job if you keep making errors, especially if it's detrimental errors. So you want to indicate the fact that you are willing to get better and do better, and also that you are sorry. Number 17. I'm sorry for being late. I can do better for sure. So there are some people that are just notorious latecomers, no matter what. I mean, I've worked with people like that. You're supposed to be at work at 8, but 9 o'clock, you're still nowhere to be found. Those people, I can't even give them a comeback to help them, because even if they say, I'm sorry for being late, I can do better, tomorrow they're going to be late again. So there's really no point for that I'm sorry, because really, if you are sorry, then it's going to show in your actions. Right? So this is for people who they're not latecomers, they're not notorious latecomers. They like to go to work on time, before time, or on time, and something happens and you get to work late. You and your supervisor brings it to your attention. You need to apologize. I'm sorry for being late. I can do better for sure. And then the last but not least, tip number 18. Is there anything I can do to make you feel better? So this is if your supervisor is not happy with your work performance, or if somebody is not happy with what you're doing, or they're complaining, even if you're going above and beyond and you feel like you're doing better than everyone else, you can still say, is there anything I can do to make you feel better? So this is you also calling them out on their BS, pretty much, and let them be the one to tell you what you can do. I'm pretty sure they will say, yes, you can do A, B, C, and D, X, Y, Z, and blah blah blah, things that really you are doing, right? But I think, again, taking us back to tip number 1, which is asking for specifics. That's what you want. In addition to what can I do to make you feel better, ask for specifics, ask for examples, so that way they're not beating around the bush, they're not generalizing everything, and they're not using hyperboles that really don't make sense. And so that's all I have for you today. Next, we're gonna talk about how to shut down people who want to walk all over you. I'm sure we have all dealt with people like that, but I will give you some tips on how you shut down those kinds of people. So thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you have a comment, leave a comment. Hit subscribe, like, share. Yes, we'll see you next time. Bye.